Guys, a quick update again on Bitcoin and Ethereum. We have a detailed analysis there. But we'll also take another look at Solana because that's also very interesting right now. At the moment, I have to say compounding in advance was a good idea. Exactly in this area, which I showed you in the last video. I have a Solana long position in CoinM, which I compounded again here. And at first glance, that doesn't actually look too bad right now. But to be honest, I suspect that here too, we're still seeing a continuation pattern. This bearish pennant up to a bearish flag is what's developing here right now. We'll see how far we can play this out to the upside. But it's actually a continuation pattern. We see the same thing. And maybe you remember from the last video, I also said that with Bitcoin at the moment, it's the same pattern everywhere. We have this bearish pennant, then it turned into a flag, and then there was a breakdown, almost always to the downside. And right now, it could really happen again. But I'll show that later. BGP, guys, I think with BGP, before we do the Bitcoin analysis, I want to show you BGP. I completely missed that it crashed like this. You can see it from January 19th until now. That's about the 50% drop. Actually, even a 45% drop to the downside. For me, this is actually a buying opportunity if I say, okay, there's a lot of upside here. I don't know what happened with BGP. I have to say that too, for it to have dropped like this. But from here, at least up to the point of control here, we would have about 100%, maybe even a bit more, 115, 120%. So for me, a spot purchase would have actually been very good. Could generate profits without really having to worry here. But also don't forget the last highs below which we also got volume coming in again were then around at $1.20. That means for a downside, in this case from the current price, also about 40%. Accordingly, I also view this with caution, and in this case, we'll only use dollar cost averaging. But why are these levels interesting right now? I've already drawn it in, the Fibonacci extension. We've reached the target level, but actually broke through it to the downside. Technically, the 2.0 level could still be possible as a target. That would be $1.76. For me, that's also a DCA buying price again, to then see if we can really manage to move upwards. What do I mean by move upwards? That would be if we turn on the VPVR exactly this price range here, from around $4.70. At this point, I would have a 114% gain on the spot purchase, which really wouldn't be bad. And I think this level isn't bad at all. To look at, even if we check again, where do we have the Fibonacci from this high to this low currently? And now I'm going to turn off the other things here again, and I'll also turn this off once more. At least for now. 0.6, 18, $4.41. There should be a recovery there, but 3.97 is also super interesting. That's why this isn't investment advice, but it's super interesting. Just to see when a non-exchange coin like PGP from Bitget exchange has such momentum for no apparent reason. Then of course I try to do a bit of dollar cost averaging here so I can potentially generate some profit. By the way, for everyone who isn't subscribed to my channel yet, feel free to hit that subscribe button. On my channel, under the playlists, you'll find lots of helpful videos. For example, Trading Learner, step-by-step to becoming a profitable trader. I show you everything that I'm using here right now as well. We take a look at the liquidation heat map. We look at the institutional orders, which give us a lot of valuable information, but also the crypto trading bot tutorial. It's incredibly exciting. You know it. I've been doing this for over 2 years now. Fully automated passive income with which I continuously generate my profits using a special strategy with a DCA bot. But now let's get back and take a look at Bitcoin. You saw the BGP analysis. That was actually all just for the intro. Exactly, just under 4 minutes. That's perfect. Now let's take a look at both the smaller and larger timeframes. We'll start very briefly with the larger timeframe. As already mentioned in the last video, we still have plenty down here. Liquidity lying between $53,000 and about $47,000. That could of course indicate a breakdown, but if we really do recover, and these are also the positions we currently have in the group, that is in the Signal group, you can find the link in the video description. Feel free to check it out. Right now, we're lucky to have the advantage. We went short up here, took partial profits, went long down here, and took partial profits twice. That's because of the Fibonacci level. And I'll tell you why I'm still leaning more towards short right now. Shorter time frame. Let's see how long this works out, or if it works out at all, but both positions are secured. But also to show you things neutrally, as I mentioned before, and I want to show you something now about why I'm currently a bit more bearish in nature. The first Fibonacci levels, which could have acted as support, we placed 2 small stop losses here. Very low risk, but only entered here, namely at 0.25%. And accordingly, the loss was also extremely small. But the last one was triggered, there was a small drawdown, and now it's in profit. That means both positions I have here, or rather we are actually completely secured. Stop loss has already been set to profit for both. Partial profits have been taken, and in the best case, we get a pump. And this position continues to run because it remains open, and this one also remains open. Currently, there is no take profit set. I might take that at 63,000 US dollars, but I'll show you something about that as well. But right now, this is a perfect position that can only be completely wiped out if we get wicked out upwards, then go down and then get wicked out again. But even then, the partial profits have been realized. Exactly. So why am I saying it's a bit bearish in nature right now? We're on the 4-hour chart, and the first trades I entered were still in a range where I would say, for example, we wouldn't drop below this low or below that low, because we had incredibly good, beautiful, really clean price action here if we take a look at it. And for me, it's more like I would say the price action will continue as long as we don't break below the last higher low that we have. But that's what happened. And that's why, for me, it was the first trades that I entered. So what do we have now? We've broken through this low, and now we have a new low here. This basically means that we've had a small structure break to the downside here. Not completely with this low here, but as we've seen repeatedly now, we have a bearish structure, then a small bullish one, then bearish again, followed by a strange consolidation. And then it was the first really clean structure on the 4-hour chart, but it led us to a rejection here. And now we formed this flag here, as I mentioned. And here I also want to show why there might even be a possible opportunity to enter a short position again at around 75,000. But after we've now broken this structure to the downside with this low, for me, that's simply a structure break. I now see the possibility that maybe we'll grab some liquidity again, but that we'll continue to move down from here. And on a weekly basis, we have a massive amount of liquidations lying exactly in this area. And this wick is also still interesting to me. And accordingly, unfortunately, we did not hold these lows. And that's why, for this reason, I'm still a bit short-oriented at the moment. But if we take a look at it, where do we have it? The liquidation heat map. On a daily basis, we can see that we have a liquidity cluster around $73,700, but the largest cluster is just below us, down to just under $72,000. That would still be very interesting, the 72,000, but that would also cover my short position here because we're at 72,300. I just hope it doesn't get stopped out right at the edge. But in this case, that's also the price range. I'll quickly turn on the Fibonacci levels now. We see a possible bullish scenario, but from my perspective, now, if I only turn on the bearish scenario, because as I said, for me, it's more of a bearish direction, we can see at this point that at 0.618 and a bit above, we have a reaction. That doesn't mean it will hold, but it's interesting. And it was interesting for me regarding the long position, as that's where I took partial profits. But in the liquidation heat map, we also see levels below us down to 67,000, but I do not really want to focus on that. I want to zoom out a bit specifically to the 2-week time frame. Why I also find this interesting now and what could become dangerous, I'll turn off the FIB levels now, why this liquidity wick here could actually turn into a very bearish scenario. Because here from 65,000 US dollars down to about 63,000 US dollars, we have an incredible liquidation cluster, which is really large and something we shouldn't overlook. The 65,000 US dollars, depending on how quickly we drop down, would either serve as support, which we have here. So with this ascending trend, I'll zoom out a bit now, then I would say we get support here again. On this ascending trend, if we wick below it down to 63,000 US dollars, then we would pick up these lows here and we would also have a breakdown. If this isn't a fake out and we come back, then the following possibility exists for me. If I see that we break below and have a retest here, then of course that's a short opportunity, but one I would approach with caution, because only when we have that retest and then break further down would I say it's confirmed. Also super interesting for me, as it would allow me to scale my short position again and target the next lower level. This is relevant for me both on a smaller time frame and on a 2-week basis, which makes the liquidation very interesting. And now we come to a new short opportunity if we should continue to rise, which I also want to share with you. 75,000, so 74,000 to 74,600 or 700 US dollars ER 500. And that's an interesting level. It's right up here at the top, because that would be the rejection zone, right here up to just under 75,000 US dollars. Depending on how quickly we get there, it would basically mean nothing other than that we would actually continue our trend here. The question is, was that it, and are we going straight up, or will we see another move? Or a further continuation within this trend channel, which would then hopefully be bullish. That would of course be ideal, or if it breaks out downward, and I'll be keeping an eye on that, because this area is super interesting due to this rejection zone. So for now, 4 and 4 are still exciting for me. Here as well, 2 new positions from the signal group are already waiting. Because here too, unfortunately, we broke this structure on the 4-hour basis. 1, 2, just like it happened with Bitcoin. We had this nice upward structure here, which gradually formed. Here too, what started as a triangle turned more into a flag. And here as well, these exact lows have now been broken to the downside. And at least this one stronger low that was here, our last higher low, was clearly broken to the downside. And for this reason, I see a short opportunity here for myself, even into lower price ranges. Because if we now look at Ethereum as well on a 2-week basis, that would be the first time for me to scale my coin position on Bitcard, because we have something sitting at $1,900 and we have a lot of liquidity at $1,829. We must not lose sight of that here. This cluster and above us, there actually isn't that much left, up to about 2112. And if we look at the pay theorem, what did I just say? Just looked at it and already forgot again. 1900 to 1830. So let's turn this off again here. 1900. Could that even be a possible support in this area? Here, so again, this ascending trend channel, if we want to draw it very precisely, really with the low, then it would even be possible that we use these liquidations we see here as support at 1832. Maybe a small wick below that, but then at least this would be the opportunity for us to possibly move up again. A breakdown to the downside would of course not look good, but here I already have my price level set. The $1,500 approximately, 1,561. You can see I haven't shared this with you for quite some time. I only noticed it again recently. Target level from this ascending trend played out perfectly up to 1,809. And recently, I'd completely forgotten about it, drew in this target level here, which fits right in here. But we can see right now how well Ethereum is reacting here at this very moment at the current time. And we can see that this target level of 1.8, 0.9, super interesting. Now it's been tested several times, 2 candles and here a third candle as well. I'll zoom in again here and draw this arrow out again. I just wanted you to see what this is being calculated on, and that would be the possibility. Maybe we'll bring that up again. But let's also take a look at the 1500 level, where there's an incredible amount of liquidity and order volume, because large orders in Bitcoin right now aren't forming such clusters. We'll take another look at Ethereum, because Ethereum has significantly more institutional clusters in there. As it is currently being shown with Bitcoin, for example, you can see a few clusters here, but the largest cluster, which has been open for a long time now, is at 1,500 and 1,400. I just can't say it enough. If the price goes down, that's my opportunity where I say I want to join the institutional orders, and that's when I buy my next Ethereum. Exactly. Otherwise, on a smaller time frame, there's not much more to say about Ethereum. We basically have almost the same thing everywhere that we're showing here. Let me quickly switch back to the larger time frame, because here we have target levels, but what we also have from a Fibonacci perspective is that if the breakout happens to the downside, my next short opportunities will line up exactly with these target levels. Around 2392, so roughly 2400, because that's a target level, the 1.618 here, and then also the 0.618, which is also super interesting in case we go up that high. And that's my next area where I would say a short would be ideal. If we really continue to rise massively, which I don't expect that we actually go up to 2800, the 0.786 would be interesting, or rather, we also have the option to pull this even higher. And we see that 0.618 and 0.786 would roughly coincide here. So that's the next short opportunity. But we're still far from that. That's really just speculation for the future. Let's stick to the current chart for now. If I zoom in here, we can see now, just like before, it doesn't weigh that much. If I turn on my fib lines, you actually don't see anything different, except that at the current moment, we're reacting at the 0.5 Fibonacci level. On a bearish basis, right now for me, it's more of a bearish scenario, as I just mentioned. But there was also another opportunity at the 0.786 to go short, and a liquidation would be necessary. We're looking at 2207 on a smaller time frame. Let's take a look at the 48-hour chart, or maybe even the 24-hour chart. What's above us there? We have something up to 2132. That would actually be the 0.786 Fibonacci, which is super interesting. So we have a confluence here in that area, but the smaller ones go up to around 2170 in height. Yes, actually everything would still be secured, even if you say you do a retest at this resistance zone and then go down. Solana now, to finish up, the video is way too long again, which I actually don't want. We can also see that Solana at the moment, actually, like I said at the beginning of the video, is interesting because we are, yes, here I compounded my position, but I still have plenty of Solana to continue compounding. I just want to keep lowering my average purchase price. But with Solana, we're seeing exactly the same thing right now. And I'm really curious to see if it will actually play out like this, that we can say we've made a much more intense break of this structure here and are now seeing a recovery. And you can also see at this point in time that the 0.5 Fibonacci retracement level is currently acting as resistance. But we still have the 0.618 and 0.786 levels, which are also very interesting if we continue to rise. But here we have a rejection. A breakdown to the downside would of course not be good for Solana at all. Let's take a look at the Solana liquidation heat map and then we'll be done with the video. 48 hours, what else is above us? We can see up to about $90, so the first cluster is between $88 and $90. What does it say here? You can see this alignment here, $88 at the 0.618 and $90 just at the 0.786. So for the liquidation heat map. This is actually very clear here. But I also want to include the 2-week view here because as we just saw, we have more below. There was also a massive cluster within the 48 hours. And here the 76 US dollars. So 80 to 76 US dollars could get very interesting. And that would actually be this low here that we still have in play. We would have another new break out of this small structure here. And maybe if things really do play out that way, and we see something even worse happening in the world or in the market, a retest, and then you really have to see how far it goes down. So that would be my analysis at the current point in time. Of course, I'll keep you up to date. At the moment, there are a bit fewer videos because I'm focusing much more on the trades and on this signal group. Naturally, I want to deliver perfect, clean trades as best as I can. Of course, but also the trading bots that I share here as well. And at the moment, there isn't that much to report that I could make new videos for you every day because as we can see here, we're currently actually in a sideways range. You can always try, but anyone who has looked at this closely like I do when trading with Fibonacci will notice that the 0.786 and other deeper price levels are often reached. At the moment, you really need to look at larger time frames here, so include Fibonacci levels on a daily basis in order to get slightly better chances and set fewer stop losses. With that in mind, I want to say thank you for watching and please feel free to subscribe and leave a like. And until next time.